There we go. I don't know why this wasn't on. Weird. This should be fine now. I didn't say anything. You didn't miss anything. Until you see like this screen, nothing has happened. Yeah, it's weird. My Razer Siren, like I never do anything with it, but it wasn't picking up in OBS. It wasn't like actually detecting at all, which is weird, even though it was connected. You know what? I like that Street Fighter mix. That Street Fighter mix has been really chill. Oh, maybe I didn't listen to it on here. Whatever. We'll just listen to this one. Oh, wait, it is there. Fuck, I literally just saw it. Yeah. Let me take a look actually, since it is 2 o'clock. Alright, wrong person. Oh, this is learn. Oh, something. Well, 10 minutes isn't like that long. If anything, maybe we just don't watch like the last couple games. But 10 minutes isn't that long. I mean, so my like intro thoughts to this matchup personally are always, I think that she clearly beats him, but she does it kind of slow because of tools like flash kick. A lot of oh yeah, you can't upload more than 15 minutes if you're not like verified in YouTube or something dumb like that. Leo is hard to kill fast. Is like the way I would put it. He's hard to kill fast, and learning to sort of lane him out is pretty essential in the matchup, I think. Azami is a godsend, but you're not supposed to just Azami randomly. So a lot of it is learning how to wall out Leo. It's pretty easy to wall out once you get the feel for it, though. Here, I usually don't move forward. Yeah, jump S does a lot. That exact sequence is a pretty big sequence. Like jump S into Space Cabrera. The thing about Leo versus Baiken is, to me, Baiken is fundamentally just like a grappler. Yeah, it's pretty late on it. I've been there though. It's Sunday. I've been there. The thing about Baiken to me is like she's fundamentally a grappler. So characters with like reversals and stuff have an easier time slowing her down because a lot of her situations are oriented around like frame trapping or throwing, right? And she doesn't have like super high value like backdash callouts outside of like specific situations. So I think the pace of fighting Leo is pretty slow. Like this is fine. Jump S is actually pretty, like just jumping forward with Jump S here is pretty safe, honestly. Just jumping in general means that you can threaten a spaced out Jump S, or opt to do this stuff. I'll take my notepad out. I want to try using the thingy that I have now, but it kind of like prolongs a lot of the actual like video. I was basically just gonna say, when you fight Leo like on this situation, you always kind of want to be like probably like right here. His only option that hits you is the third Rekka. It takes forever to come out. It's a punish on block. Like there's not a lot going on there. And if you Kabari, you always are just Kabaring at a pretty safe distance. Even if he parries it, he's a little plus, but he'll never get the combo off of it, so it doesn't matter too much for Baiken. But that range that he kind of walked himself into is great. That's funny that Leo is the guy that's in danger there, by the way. Leo is the person getting penalty there. That's funny. Here, yeah, that's fine. I tend to recommend like pushing Leo out a little bit at the start of his back turn pressure. It's easy to like simplify back turn pressure in a way that is not necessarily like super consistent, but is helpful for dealing with him, because generally the weakness of back turn to me is that he has to stay on top of you, right? And he can't run in that. He has to kind of like do these little dashes. This is fine. Yeah. Really, the only thing I would advise is you don't get any value like sitting this far away. If he's doing things like he was doing, you can be like right here and you can kind of just jump forward. You jump forward to like right here. Jump S is always available to like nickel and dime him, and yes, you are nickel and diming him. That's fine. The idea is that you're not leveraging any risk, so it's not a big deal that the reward isn't there. And if it ever looks dicey, you can literally just air dash back and then get right back into that same spot again. And it's pretty easy to like watch. Like that jump, but closer, is very obnoxious for Leo. You don't, in my opinion, you don't really want to like run up to Leo in back turn. I don't think it's like that helpful. He kind of wants you to engage with him in like a closer mid range. That's just like where back turn is going to get its value. That's less true versus Baiken. That's a good throw. That's less true versus Baiken, but it's still true in general. That's where he gets his money at. Here, I always wait. This is a great burst point. Once he hits you right here, you just burst and you reset. I think it's really important to do that as Baiken, because back turn, while not guaranteed against Azami, obviously, because she can guess, is still good. To have a high-low at your disposal versus reversal Azami is not bad. So and she wins via resetting versus him in neutral, I think. Like, getting these and knowing how to play these situations is very helpful. You should just take an easy combo there. There's no reason to try to juggle. Ambiguous, like weird hits like that, where you're just like, oh, it's tatami in the air, counter hit, kind of far. Like, just simplify it. Like, I wouldn't have done that. I would have done like far slash jump S jump D, or just raw jump S jump D if it was too high. IB, yeah. I usually tell myself, like, if I ever see second Rekka like that, like raw, well, that was for Oki, but if I ever see that situation, I usually tell myself, like, okay, I need to put a little bit more effort into that. Yeah, delay mash. Yeah, Jigz is a lot of air dash. In general, I try not to be super preemptive in this matchup. I don't think it favors Baiken much. I think she wins off trying to be more stable in this matchup. Nice. A little far. Yeah, it's kind of hard to get that on that hit. Alright, first point right here. I think he could have done it earlier. Was it super paying attention? I think he get clipped. Oh no, he crosses up here. That's how he gets it. No, you could have. You could have done it right there. And it would have been the exact same, but you would have had like 15% more health. Oh, this is a weird hit now. This isn't gonna, that's not gonna combo. It's like that's a minor combo tip, I think. But if you want to keep your life simple, when you hit this, just do close slash jump S and do a regular dust loop. You might need to add punch on the air dash for light characters, but when you do that 2H, you're gonna have to combo a little differently now. It's roughly the same, but if you don't understand that it adds a little bit of extra hit stun decay to the combo, like it takes longer to do the combo now, which means the jump S air dash doesn't combo, which means you have to do other stuff. And you also have to compensate for height a little bit. Something you're thinking about in the recent set you played? Do you know the OS for post 236? Are you talking about with like Azami as my guess? I'm assuming you just mean the Azami JS. Or actually, wait. Reset. Oh, that. Oh, post 236. I don't really worry about like OSing there. Maybe in your crouch, yeah. Do fuzzy IB low into crouching mash. Fast mash button. Yeah, that's pretty okay. The thing about that OS, a lot of the times, Ama, that's the reason I don't tell too many people to do the OS, is it builds a habit. It builds a habit of doing that, and if Leos understand that you do that, then they delay back turn S manually, and they get a lot of pretty solid damage for free. And it's not like blocking back turn S is like, yeah, you just explode to back turn S. And the reason I don't tell a lot of people to do it is because people will just make that their defensive game plan, and Leos will just farm them for it because they won't know how to interact with delay back turn S. And so the Leo is basically just getting that, or like they're just dying. Like they're either getting that situation on block, or the guy's just dying to delay back turn S. It's not that it's not strong armor, but I think I usually don't tell like newer people to do stuff like that, because then they just formulate their whole game plan around it. That's a good burst from them. Damn. Like I would sooner tell you to just faultless defense Leo once you can recognize, once you can get into back turn situations. Like you're like, oh, he's got me back turned. Oh, it's tough not turn. It's a little too close on the Rokonsogi. Like situations like this, I tend to default to pushing Leo out a little bit, because the more he does things like this, the more it starts to add up, and he has to kind of cancel his way back in, or dash back in, right? I think faultless is a pretty simple way to start with Leo block strings. It's like faultless defense, or sometimes you mash. Oh, a lot of these are pretty good jump S spots if you don't dash that deep. Like that's too deep. You don't want your jump trajectories, in my opinion, with jump S to like, if Baiken is jumping here, if she's doing like this jump arc, she's gonna go like this, and she's gonna land on him. You don't really need to do that, because if you do your jump arc from further back, like over here, then you can end up like here on your way down, and jump S will still cover that far distance. Because jump S hits so far in front of her, you don't actually need to like slingshot into people, because then that happens. That happens a lot, specifically versus back turn. People don't understand it. I think Azami works out. That's not always true, Xerker, but for Baiken, generally that's like, she gets a lot more value out of that than anybody else, because she has jump S. And it doesn't really affect what you're doing anyway. Jump S is never gonna really get like a meaningful combo a lot of the times unless you're air dashing into it. So it doesn't really matter if you hit it like right on top of people or kind of further down. Talking more about keeping your combos more stable in general, and you noticed today you're making it life harder not getting a knockdown on weird hits. Yeah, this is a bad game to try to overextend in if you don't know your character's combo theory super duper well. Like the way I would put it, it's easier said than done, but if I know this is an option, this is a lot more forgiving than you might think. It's just, you kind of anticipate it and you throw. But it's important not to panic and tell yourself you have to like be ready to react to everything. In fact, in some ways it's better to just, because this never jails, like this basically never jails, I want to say. I think you almost always have an opportunity to throw this move on, even like on a lot of faultless defenses. Because this never jails, you can kind of like do the thing I was talking about a little bit. Leo back turn defense is a little bit nuanced if you're trying to really maximize your value versus it. Yeah, no punish on regular block. Nice, good safe jump. Yeah. Flash kick is annoying. Flash kick is just the thing that you have to, technically you were a little slow, I believe. I think you maybe could have thrown before flash kick. But there's also something to be said about you want to do these farther away. Notice how, like, you don't want her to finish the dash and still be going into people. You want to, like, reach them at the end of the dash, because you can't throw until the end of it anyway. And so I'll show you the difference. It's very subtle, but it's really easy to fuck it up off of, like, it's really easy to fuck it up off of far slash if you don't space it right. A lot of Baikens end up accidentally doing that. Is that 20? Okay, we can finish watching like this one. And I'll pay a little more attention to the defense. Honestly, there hasn't been like too many opportunities to talk about regular Leo offense, like non-back turn, because like 80% of the set has just been Leo and back turn, like doing this too. But there are some general options I tend to favor. We'll just talk about some back turn defense since that's like most of what you're running into. The Riggers don't want to use these? I mean, yeah. So your friend taught you when not back turn. Yeah, that's a good place to start. I mean, ideally you don't want him in back turn. Leo's a little interesting to me in the I think he's a character where he's a little weird, and that you know, honestly I remember most of it. I don't need to use the notepad. Leo's a little odd to me in that in some situations his back turn feels worse, and in some it feels better. It's hard to say. Like, I would never say Leo just has better offense in one or the other. He kind of like wants one for one thing, and he kind of wants one for another thing, and it's not a one size fits all for him. He has reason to do both, basically. Oh, so hold on, minor thing, but you know what? I'll fix it after this. I want to like go back into the menu and reselect characters and do everything, but I forgot my dimensions reset, or like my things reset, so the dimensions are off right now. I don't think it lets you change it from here. That's fine. How loud is this? How's the game audio? Sounds like really low on my end, but I feel like it is in OBS. I think it might be low though. No, it's about good. It's good. It's just oddly low for me. I think my browser audio is maybe just a little high, if anything. Oh yeah, it is that. It is that. Yeah. The game is loud. Hold on. This is probably better. No, that's probably fine. So there's a couple things I want. Neutral. There's a really simple game plan, which is as you jump like this, you can even do it from kind of far away, like here. This hits from really far. Hey, what's up, Bob? This hits from really far. Look how far this hits from. I can be like over here, and if I dash and then forward jump, I will not reach Leo myself, but Jump S will. Jump S will always hit at the tip of it, which is great because at this distance, you're never sticking out your hurt box into back turn punch. If he's in back turn, he can't press any of his back turn normals to hit this, and even if he counters, he's a little plus off of it, but that's kind of it. So you just do this a bunch. And if you ever tag him with Jump S, he leaves back turn. You don't have to worry about it anymore. You just get a hit on back turn. And if you're ever kind of moving and he's moving and you go, oh, I'm gonna end up right on top of him almost, right? Like, which is when you do something like this, if it lines up or this doesn't look good, then you can usually just air dash back like this and stick out Jump S on the way in, and it's really good at stopping pretty much any grounded approach Leo picks. If he dashes, he runs into it. If he does the 236H, he runs into it. The hard part about doing this as Baiken is that you're not really killing him fast. This only does maybe like 10% of his health if even. Actually, one normal probably is less, right? You get about that much damage each time you do it. But you only need maybe like 2 or 3 of these to make people not want to play the way that they're playing, because you're not leveraging any risk. You're just basically getting free hits. You're just getting a hit or running away. And every time you run away, you can always represent something. Like if you think they're going to wait for the Jump S that you keep shoving out, then you can just do this instead. The Jump S that you hate. Yeah, that Jump S is amazing. Right, so you start basically controlling space, and the really, really awesome thing is if they start freezing up and they don't know what to do, you can just air dash at them. And now if any of these hit, these are high reward, right? These are the things you're not allowed to do because he just presses reactionary buttons if you jump into him all the time in a space where you'll end up right inside of him. That's just usually how like footsies works in general in this game. But from over here, if you hit something like this, you can get quite a bit of reward. That's a whole combo. Like, I get 30% of his health for that. Leo also isn't a character that really shoves his 6p out there a lot of the times, so that's also a factor. If they get scared off pressing buttons on this angle, you can just do tatami on the way down like this, and it's perfectly safe. The issue is that most of the time they won't sit still. Right? Once you've done this maybe once or twice, they understand how to do that, and so you have to learn how to play the next part, which will be more interactive. It'll be a lot more of Leo actively approaching and not just doing this shit all day. Right? Which isn't also that great. If they're doing this, you just have to get to roughly this range as Baiken, because only one of his options reaches, and Kabari reaches at any point. And if Kabari ever hits him, you just get a knockdown for free, and then you can run a safe jump if you want. That way you don't have to deal with flash kick. You have to manually time it because he wakes up a little bit late. but you just outrange. Once he's in back turn, I think the neutral is like way worse for him because he's kind of just doing this, and even if Leo counters, right, like this, he doesn't. He's just plus. He never gets his combo or the little vacuum off of this. So I usually just hold up because like, what's Leo gonna do about it? There's a lot of very strong level 1 options for Baiken that are just like easy to use and filter out like passive Leo gameplay, and it forces Leo to be more aggressive and actually approach you, and then you have to work on stopping that. But that's what you want as Baiken. Baiken wants people to run at her. That's her whole like win condition essentially, is people running into Tatami or people swinging into Azami overextending. Right? She never wants to be the person chasing, but she needs to find a way to get people to think they need to chase her. Right? But yeah, see, and if they're ever wrong on the timing, Kabari is just hard to play around. The big thing is, the downside of this option more than anything else is people can jump over it. People can IAD over it, like right when it happens. People can kind of jump at you and make you like feel like you have to Azami versus their jump in, etc. This option is by no means bad. It has literally no hurt blocks on it after her sleeve. But the idea is that usually the one weakness that this has is that like people can jump versus it. Leo can't jump in back turn. He literally can't, right? He has to leave this mode. So once he's here, like, what's he gonna do? This, like, he has to somehow like get value out of hitting you with this. He gets like 10 damage. If you're right, you get a knockdown. Like those things are not equivalent. But yeah, I would start there. Farther jump S's are good. Even just walking forward into Tatami is great. You generally want to know what you're doing versus this in neutral. If you want to be lazy, Baiken can do this. If you want to be a little bit more passive, you can be like in a range where it's throwable, right? Like this. And like you can react pretty late to this move and like still throw it. So it has quite a bit of time if you're like in between. Something I usually tell people is like, even if Leo spams this and you're a character that like doesn't have a zombie, instant blocking it is generally good. Do you want to be grounded in general to answer that? Yeah, I would say yeah. You want to be grounded because you have better reward as Baiken. If you're really far and that's his only approach option, like if you're like here and he always does this, you can see it and get this, and if you do it correctly, you get a counter hit. And it's not really like, there's not really much else it's a very distinct animation. Even if he wire sees it, Leo doesn't have like a grounded overhead. He doesn't have like a good punish there to like make RPS out of this. And you never have to pick it. You can always do like other easier things. If you instant block this move, I think Leo is now -1 instead of like +2 or something like that. He's either like he might be +3, I believe, on regular block, and then probably -1 on IB. It's probably like that attack level. So you can use that to control space, then it's pretty good. Like this is like his I don't want to like actually play neutral option, so I almost always just like IB it as other characters like this and just stick out my fastest farthest reaching thing, and then I usually cover backdash with like another thing like this. The reason you do that is like is the only option, and you feel like he has to. Yeah, pretty much. He tends to do that whenever people are predictable, like in the air and retreat, because it's his fastest, not his fastest, but it's like his farthest moving burst option on the ground. If he does something like this and you're predictable and you do this, he'll kind of like end up underneath you right away. He likes to use it like that a lot. I wouldn't worry about it too much, but know that if you get good at slowing Leo down, he's just gonna probably try to use that. A lot of Leos will probably maybe start trying to use that to close the gap. If they jump at you, that's fine. You just anti-right it. The big thing is that this jumping shit, you only do it to get Leo to stop waiting around and doing nothing. I was gonna say another really quick tip. There's a difference between doing this and doing this. One of these is like, we'll do it like here because you can get far slash from here. One of these is like already in throw range. I'm in throw range and I'm not out of Rokonsogi yet. Or sorry, Suzuran. Here, I'm like better about it. But you can do things like, this is probably like perfectly spaced or close to it. Right? You can finish. You want Rokonsogi to finish, and I'm still not in throw range really right here. Like I'm about to be, but I'm not. You want them to have to make the decision like at the very last second. You don't want to be easily throwable or easily hittable out of this until the very end of it like that. right? That's why doing something like this is generally not good. If you ever see me do those things, I was essentially like hoping they would dead angle or do something like that. Or like a dead angle or like a soft burst read to just do like this and reset. But I rarely, like, learning to space this out a little better like that is better than to do it like willy-nilly like that, where you're like right on top of people. Don't worry about it too much, but know that the better you space this tool, the more effective it is basically at doing what it does. You can even put yourself out of throw range on purpose. I can't throw there, but if somebody can react, it gives them even more time to die. Right? I do that on purpose versus better people. Other than that, last thing I guess we'll talk about, I'm thinking in neutral. I think that's like basically it. You can also sometimes back off, and if you're capable of doing it, what is it? Let me see. I wonder if I can time it like this. So like a little bit later. Any easy tips on dealing with back turn offense? That is the next thing I'm going to talk about. Yeah, this is fine. You don't have to worry about this. This is a cool hat trick to do this. You punish Leo for the fireball rebound. I do this at full screen. Kind of cute. Kind of works better than you'd think. This is more like food for thought, I guess. Like that. It's a really interesting way of baiting him into getting caught by that. If you do it right, it's actually very strong. But don't do that. Don't do that. I know it sounds funny to do it and then say don't do that, but it's not actually, it's too much stuff you can mess up and die for and not enough actual reward compared to other things. My advice would be usually if Leo, so let's say Leo ends up here and he starts doing something like, alright, so if he ends up here, one of the things I was going to say is like, this has more leniency than you might think. Like, I also recommend like trying to do it this way, like trying to throw the way that he's like crossing you up into, so that when you mess it up, you're obviously gonna just get your back input a lot of the times like this, and then the IB will help reduce some of his advantage there. It will usually like end up panning out a little bit better for you if you do this, right? That's kind of why like a lot of the times my default is to like try and throw him the direction he's coming from. So that if he does cross me up, my chances of blocking are like better. There's a chance I just press back, but I didn't press heavy in time, but I'll still get the block, and that's important. But let's say he ends up like here. Learning to push him out can force situations that Leo doesn't want to deal with. So for example, like even in this situation where I technically kept him closer, if I'm like, oh no, Leo's in back turn, and I do faultless defense here, look how far he ends up off the 2 hits. Even if this hits me, he doesn't have a combo anymore. He's out of the range of his back turn S. He has to have 50 bar. He has to be able to super here or he can't get a combo. Super or Roman cancel would fix it. But other than that, like Leo, in order to do more, so this wouldn't hit me. So even if I get hit, Leo kind of has to guess versus me now on what he's gonna do. And what I mean by that is like if he does something like this. Oh shit, what's up, Blitzback? How did it go? How was who won Blitzback today? I haven't been watching as much, but it is cool to tune in when I wake up earlier. So let's say Leo does this, right? Sad day, Fost 1. Sad day indeed. If he does this, right? So in order for Leo to continue to apply offense here, a lot of the times he will do something kind of like this, right? So, Local played hella well. Cool. I love to hear it. So if he does this and I get clipped, oh my god, he didn't even hit me. Oh my god, let me do it like this. That is cool though. It's cool to hear you guys are shaking it up. So he can't get a combo here. So in order to like get closer, he's got to dash in, right? And so he ends up in this situation where like, even though he's hitting me, like I'm gonna mash. I know Leo can't combo off this far hitting overhead, right? Like over here, the difference is, I'll show you. If you don't even try pushing Leo out, he just gets everything for free. That's kind of like the thing I'm trying to get at, where with this being like a pretty good option to begin with. is because if you do something like this and you freeze up and you just get clipped like this, let me keep him like a little closer like this. Then it's like boom, 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 and he just does it automatically, right? So adding a little bit of pushback at the start of Leo strings makes him oftentimes want to use his overhead a little bit faster because it keeps him like closer, or it makes him want to dash through you more. He wants to find ways to punish you autopiloting the pushback. And the thing about Leo is that he doesn't have, in back turn, his overhead is kind of like his main way of getting, here, let me show another knockdown to show it. His overhead is like his main way of staying on top of people without, and like also being hit confirmable, because the overhead kind of links into everything else. He does this and then he does that when he sees the overhead hit and it combos. These aren't Gatlings really, maybe they are, I don't know, but like it's so delayed that it's like essentially a link, right? And a lot of the times, let's say like a Leo player doesn't really hit confirm a situation, they'll oftentimes use like 2 or 3 buttons like this, like they wouldn't, like normal characters do this. It's the same idea as if when I do this, I use those first hits to hit confirm. If he blocks, then I don't do that, right? Leo does kind of the same thing in back turn a lot of the times. He kind of has to, right? And so pushing him out adds up really fast in those spots. Or it starts to force him to do things that are maybe like out of his comfort zone, like I said, where he might start to do like button into like dash through you, right, etc. Like he's going to look for ways to counter this actively, and all you're really doing is like holding 2 buttons. But see, like he has to now do stuff like this, right? And a lot of the immediate adjustment, in my opinion, is like sometimes I'll just like start holding up if he's gonna redash like this, and then I'll focus on getting away, and then jump S acts as my protector when I run away, and then I can reset, and then I can go back to neutral where he has hard times with this, right? That's a really preemptive gamble on my part. I'm literally saying once I block the first hit, I'm just gonna hold up, or I'm saying like I'm just gonna hold up on wake up. That's fine. This is a really like straightforward way of simplifying defense versus Leo while like playing towards the weaknesses of back turn, in my opinion, right? This is less consistent than having like option selects or little things like that, but like now you can even like faultless defense into like, if I press that button there after faultless defensing, if he does a true block string, I won't get caught, right? Like if he does the whole block string, I'm just essentially like fuzzy pressing that anyway, right? He has to now start manually going out of his way to like delay things and catch them. But I like thinking of the defense in this way versus back turn at the beginning, not because it's consistent or like hard for Leo to always get around, but because it's just like it's interactive and you have to think about it on both ends, right? I don't like teaching, I mentioned it earlier, like the option select that Amo talked about is very good. It is very good at filtering out weaker Leo players because they don't know how to catch the fuzzy press well. But if it's your whole game plan, you're not paying enough attention to everything else, right? Where a good faultless defense, used kind of like scarcely here and there, can make Leo want to do other things. Strings that are worse on paper, and like I'll see if I can cover kind of why they're worse. So like, they don't want to do something like this all the time, because this manual timing is really good at frame trapping, but this button is not plus on block, and this cancel is a lot more recognizable now because you have the entire block stun / like hit stop of back turn S to give you time to see this, and he can't cancel his he can't cancel this into lows, and his lows and his buttons don't really reach in this situation, right? When he does things like this, these don't reach anymore, right? So he has to manually stagger on S, which technically isn't plus. Let me double check that. On God, I honestly don't remember, but I'm pretty sure it does it. Let me see. Really quick. Do his back turn normals get listed? They don't. Oh, here they are. Back turn S is minus. Yeah, it's minus on block. It's just disjointed and pretty fast. But that's minus, right? So the idea is you doing like a faultless defense into like a fuzzy mash, or pushing him out into a range where he's gonna either try to frame trap the button that you're pressing to stop the dash, but that's kind of hard if you just press like, Baiken has a good button in the form of 2K. It's kind of hard for Leo to like consistently back turn S this button if you're like farther out, right? So like you can press it in ranges like this, and like Leo won't hit you with it easily. He can, but he won't always get it. And he can't do anything here unless he dashes, and all his dashes will get stuffed, right? But the pushback, a lot of the times pushing him back can force him to have to frame trap preemptively versus the, like, oh, I think you're going to dash, I'm going to mash versus it. And then when he's this far, it's kind of over. Like, especially if you instant block that, you can kind of, like, just hold up. Or, like, you can, most of the time I backdash after that hit, and it's very hard for Leo to punish unless he commits to it. Like, unless he really commits to punishing it. But yeah, the TLDR is like pushing him out is pretty good. This button is going to start coming out more to compensate for that, right? Because it's pretty good at helping with pushback, right? Like Leo doesn't get pushed back as fast, right? He can do a couple of these and he's even more plus than normal, but block strings like this have gaps in them, right? So like now you get a little bit more reward, like immediately mashing in situations, right? Because he wants to end up like that. But the more you kind of like push Leo out, the better a lot of the situations start to get for you, in my opinion, as the defender, right? And he has to actively work around that. I think back turn is worse than front turn in that sense. He's a lot easier at getting around it because he can stick out normals while moving in his front turn, right? But yeah. That's basically it. I would recommend like starting there. There's a lot of specific interactions you can learn, obviously, and I didn't really cover any of them. But Faultless Defense is a great place to start, I think, versus back turn. If you see overheads, don't be scared. Like if they're raw overheads, don't be scared to fuzzy mash a little bit on them. Like don't press immediately, but like block the thing before and then mash. Or yeah, I think this is also more helpful than niche situations. Like block the thing and mash after, or focus on pushing out his lighter normals, right? That's like a big thing. Leo will have to use his brain more actively to punish you just randomly holding two buttons, and that's pretty valuable is the way I would put it. I'm not gonna lie, let me double check, because both of the next time slots are soul players. And on God, I actually can't remember what time slot is what time slot. I think I remember learn is 240, yeah. If you feel like you've heard it can be weak, it helps you actually understand how backturn actually works. Yeah, I don't think backturn is weak. It's just he's trading like immediate mix-up potential for other stuff. You can sometimes just blitz on reaction to overhead unblockable too. Yeah, exactly. Like passive defense is pretty good at it, but yeah, I think his back turn is solid in a lot of matchups. It's like I said, it's matchup to matchup because it depends on how good people's buttons are defensively versus it. Like characters like Jam get destroyed by back turn compared to other characters. She doesn't have like a great way of like pushing him out. She doesn't have big buttons to like protect her safely, right? But I think of it as like he's just gonna apply a lot more threatening offense like right away off of it than he would on his front turn pressure, but his front turn pressure is like way better at just staying on top of you. But it's a mid dispenser, you know? Destroyed is a harsh word. Yeah. It's mostly back turn S. But my point is that she actually struggles like a lot more than other people to deal with it. Well, she's got Hochifu, but I guess I just mean more so like it's kind of hard for her to like reset out of it. But you know, conversation for like another time for sure. Let me see. More of the same, I think. We'll kind of watch through the set again, because I don't, I honestly don't. I'm not gonna lie. I don't remember what we talked about. It's probably been like 4 weeks or more by now. I will say in general, I think this matchup is good at teaching soul discipline. I think characters like Kai Kisuke teach discipline. They have to. That's not that they have to. They just do. Like, Kai Kisuke and all of the other Oki characters teach discipline. Because your decisions, if they result in knockdowns, are a big deal now. You can't rely on a crutch all the time. And it's pretty easy for them to get those situations, right? Like, boom. Now it's like, sick DP. Like, sick heavy volcanic viper. That's a sick option. I love that for you. Hold that, you know? So, I think in a nutshell, a lot of Kai is, like, learning to pick your spots really well. You crashed out after the set, but yeah, you're right on. Kai forcing discipline. Yeah, Guilty Gear players hate blocking, so they hate Kai. I also hate Kai. I hate blocking projectiles on Wake Up. Granted, I don't have to do that. But when I play other characters, that's my first thought, yeah. Well, you need a... Being proactive here is helpful. I want to talk about some block strings with Kai. We'll just talk about that at this point, I guess, because recognizing this normal being too far and this situation can happen is important, because he doesn't have good frame traps there unless he spends 50 bar now. Right? And he gets a lot of value out of CL because now this is plus on block if you block it. Right? And it's easy for him to just continue to apply offense. Finally, getting around him is important. I would still focus all my energy on getting out of the corner versus Kai. Like, if this hits me, I would tech like that, and I would jump out of the corner with my secondary action and force him to air throw me. I'll keep blocking him mid-screen, but in the corner it's a lot dicier because he just holds the corner so well. It's a good call out from him. That's a pretty early burst. You should be careful. It's ideal to, like, hit confirm, CL, cancel, like there, and then you burst. And if you do it correctly, you should usually be able to get it still before he can do the 2K link that baits it. It's kind of hard to do, but it is also a lot scarier to just burst before he technically has to CL. Soul is also a character that has to learn a lot of discipline because his Oki sucks in terms of avoiding interaction. Soul wins by interacting, but he also loses by interacting, so knowing how to manage that is important. It's also the reason why it's important to understand how neutral interactions work and how defensive interactions work as Souls, because you're gonna have to be in that you're gonna be in that context a lot, because you can't always gamble on your own Oki. It's fine. I like the faultless defense. You don't need this much of it. You don't need this much faultless. That is enough faultless. You don't need it anymore. Like, it's not necessary. Like, this doesn't... You don't really need to do it every time because you'd rather be aiming to, like, RPS with 6k half the time anyway. Well, not half the time. That's a bad number, but... You want to, like, look for that interaction more. That's tough. I hate when people just mash. I would say if you notice that, this is like a small tidbit, but Soul has to pay attention to people's habits. If somebody always techs forward or techs buttons or does something like that, don't do the cancel and just play for the tech. But most people don't usually tech out of that. Like, a lot of people aren't mashing that fast, so it's kind of odd to see it. It's fine. It's not a lot of that. It's not like that much bar. That's okay. You don't have to. You don't really have to do this. This is kind of scarier than you might think because the fireball is only going to cover, like, this space. And in order for you to get above him, you basically need to, like, do what you did, which is, like, this plus revolver. But something that's important to note is that Kai is over here. And if you jump from where you are and you just move backwards, he won't ever reach you for a punish. He might get the corner and get to start some offense if you do it right, but, like, Kai would have to move past his fireball to interact with you if you gave up space, but now when you do this, like, now it's actually awkward as fuck because of that situation. That's just recognizing that it would be better to move away than it would be to be closer. Should kill, yeah. That's tough, yeah. And then, like I said, it's important to make mental notes of what people like to do, because Fafnir loses to backdash, but run install Fafnir, right, running before the Fafnir would own that option, like, for sure, right? I'm not saying to always do that, but Soul has to adjust his offense in different ways. We'll talk a little bit, I guess, about how, like, I think Soul should gauge what he's doing, because it's kind of like percentages. Like, you want to lean towards being safe. Like I said, these characters teach discipline, but you do have to, like, eventually find good spots to interact. That is a weird 6p. There's, like, I guess it's for far slash, but like, a smart Kai player won't always just stick out far slash. Yeah, like, you tend to... I like faultless defense. This is not like a one-size-fits-all thing, but, like, faultless defense is good in these situations. It gives you the distance you need to interact with more stuff. And oftentimes I just decide what I'm doing here. It depends on how their offense works, and I guess we'll talk about that too a little bit. Let me write these down or I'll forget. It's minus. Yeah, getting out is good. You should like here is a good spot to just revolver. Like here is a good spot to just like super jump, immediate revolver, and like get out. Like you would go really fucking far if you did it. That's a great spot because then you actually make use of all the extra distance in a way where he can't like really punish it. It looked like maybe that's what it was and it got crossed up, which is unfortunate. But you just needed to do it sooner, I guess. Knockdown into hey, hold that. So for what it's worth, this isn't a true block string fully. No, this one is. This one is. Not all Kai hits are going to. It's because he didn't have to like really move, right? No, the air dash is what's fake. My bad. Yeah. Yeah, that's what's the one that's fake. And you cancel the air dash with a normal to go further out of the corner. Can you cancel? No, it actually kind of does the opposite. You actually tend to fall faster when you press buttons. You tend to go like less far once you press buttons. I don't know the specifics of it. But from my experience, when you press a button, your character tends to fall sooner. A little bit, not a lot. So you actually don't want to press buttons in those situations. Good DP, safe jump. Fafnir, yeah. It's kind of a predictable Fafnir. Like, I would also have done it, but I'm surprised it didn't get stun dippered. In retrospect, at least. Yeah. These days, I think the thing that stands out to me the most when I watch you is you still kind of don't have a good understanding of how to, like, take space in this game. I was talking to Fiery for, like, a couple hours about this yesterday when I was streaming. And there's, like, an art to taking space in this game. And Soul has to know how to do it, because that's, like, all his neutral is, basically. But learning how to, like, control your approaches is really helpful. And a lot of your defense is still really, like, panicky. It's still very, like, I don't know, like, what I'm looking for, so you just kind of, like, miss stuff and then panic, is what it feels like. Like, it's really, I guess we'll just talk about, like, recognizing general situations, because that's kind of how, like, I do it, right? Like, the way I would put it is, like, once this happens, this faultless defense doesn't actually really help you. Like, you actually kind of don't want to do that too much versus a character like Kai there. It doesn't really improve your circumstances from what it would have been if you blocked, and I being there is generally just better in a lot of situations. Like, that's good faultless defense. That the way it's used is good. And we'll talk about why that's good versus why the other one is, like, kind of mid. Because they're different. I think I have enough time to watch one more. Yeah, we should be able to finish if I just don't pause much. Nice. You do have to lock that in preemptively. Yeah, like, that's pretty good. That's, this isn't quite the situation from before, because he's not, like, as close as he was that one time. But that's the idea. It's like you'd rather block here than block like cornered. Not always, but if you have an opportunity like that, it definitely forces different responses out of him. This is now guaranteed with the YRC. Even DP wouldn't check the high. Nice. Wow, what a wild throw. That's kind of crazy if that wild throw worked out, actually. Because that wasn't a punishable situation anyway on Greed Sever. That's gonna hit, right? Yeah. kind of fine. You don't need to be that scared once you've gone this far. Like, neutral's like more even than you might think. But the jump back essentially gets you killed there. You end up here. Not knowing what you want is stuff like 6Ps because you were hoping for a counter hit than more hoping for it than expecting it. Yeah. I guess what I would say as I finish this, like watching this, because I know that this is gonna conclude, is like, in your head, what is it that you're struggling with? What is it that like is confusing to you? What part of the game do you feel like you're just like, I don't know like what I'm doing here? Or like ideally like concrete situations are like easier to talk about. Hip jump, gets blitzed, yeah. Hard baits, jumping back, dive kick finds the hit. That's technically not a punish because it's a gold burst. That was a good bait on their part. That's why you have to wait for visual confirmation on CL, because of that exact situation. Because the thing that stands out to me is that you don't really FD break. Like that's not like a concept that you're like using much ever from what I can tell. You're kind of like stationary a lot or just move in like sudden bursts. You're being honest, you don't know, but you think watching your own VODs will help you find what you want. Yeah, I mean, I think the idea is if you want to trace the logic, you have to think about what was the reasoning behind your decisions and why that's not like solid reasoning. That's like where I would start. Like in general. We'll talk about that too, but that's not like, we don't have to talk about that like long because that's a whole conversation. But it is a concept that I think like is important to understand for teaching you how to unlearn things and why they're bad. In other words, every time you're making a mistake, you have to tell yourself, you know, why, you know, what was the reasoning I had for believing like that's a decision I should make. And then telling yourself like, oh, you know, let me change these real quick because the dimensions are wrong. Wow, the start of this song sounds just like an actual popular Spanish song. That actually threw me off so hard. You need to act on it. This game is not vibes, man. Like, especially on a character that's not actually like gonna run. Like, Soul is the opposite of uninteractive. Everything he does is interactive. Literally all of it is interactive, and it works to his benefit. Like, the least interactive part of Soul is his normals, like in terms of like punishing them, but all of his like actions, all of his openings are dependent on knowing why they're working. Probably more than most of the characters. He's a very grappler like in that sense, is that he doesn't really have like, Soul has no guaranteed mix-ups. He's just strike throw man. Like, he has like one sort of like not even actually. He can't really jail. Like, he just can't really jail into mix-ups ever. But I want to talk about a couple things. So that to me, this is like for everybody that's curious, but and don't go crazy with this. No singular tool in this game is ever often like good enough that you just get to do it all the time. There are things that are good 80% of the time, 70% of the time, because they are safe in their worst situations, right? And this is kind of one of them. If ever there's situations where someone is about to apply offense, like this, for example, wrong defense. Faultless defensing in these situations is strong. You only need a little bit of it. Anytime somebody is at a distance from like here, and you have reason to believe they are essentially guaranteed offense, right? This is a good example. Stun Dipper into like sudden run up instead of Fireball. YRC is a good example. Like, when people have to start their offense but not already like on top of you, it's safe to assume they have to run at you to do it, right? And it's also safe to assume that when they do it, they're going to lock in something that is like an easy hit confirm, potentially, like this, right? 2 buttons into setting a situation up. For Kai, it's oftentimes something like these 2, and if he sees Faultless Defense, I think he often presses 6K in response to it, right? But the big thing is more like, I Faultless Defense here versus Kai, so that my defense gets to look kind of like this. Right, let me see if I can get this set up better if I do it like this. Alright. This is true for like anybody that does this kind of offense. I do a pretty similar thing versus Soul. Where it's like, I'll see this and be like, wait, what the fuck? I'll see this situation and be like, he's guaranteed offense. I should push him out. And then if I can plan for this, I just plan for it. In fact, that's actually bad that I did the stand ID. You should generally opt for crouch IDing this. And it's like, boom. Kai is no longer plus. I think he's dead even in this situation. I think. He might be -1, but I think he's even. I honestly don't remember what the frame advantage is, but it's really close, and that's kind of what's more important, I would say. But yeah, the initial pushback forces people to react in different ways, and your response is based on that, right? This isn't a thing that the defender gets to react to so much as he's preemptive. I'll give you an example, right? Something like this into trying to IB, like pushing, well, same situation, right? So something like this, for example. Well, let's pick a more realistic stagger. He's gonna do like, right? So let's say I do the Faultless Defense and then I try to IB. I didn't actually fix my situation when I did that. I was committed to like, he tends to do 6K, right? He tends to do 6K to help compensate for the pushback, but he can also redash. Redashing isn't real. If he always redashes, I can take action and mash immediately, right? That mash is dangerous versus something like 6K. But I need to decide if I want to interact. I also cannot interact. That's important to understand. This Faultless Defense, especially versus more experienced players, is something they will react to, right? Like, doing this will force them to react, and you don't have to do anything. I don't have to mash. I don't have to try to IB, etc. I can just Faultless and see what happens. Generally, it is safer to take the initial pushback and then try to instant block in case they do staggers, to catch you mashing on redashes a lot of the times, right? Otherwise, this is pretty safe to introduce. And the idea is that's just kind of like how the game works versus a lot of characters that have offense that involves like running up to do more or staggering like here instead, right? Like doing something like this is also a way for Kai to punish people that do like FD mash, right? So that he can get /counter hit, right? He gets /counter hit, he gets 3H, he gets paid, right? That's the idea, right? But what I'm getting at, and I don't want to talk about this forever because it's really complicated, is you need to start understanding what characters want in their block strings. It's the only way you can block correctly in this game, right? And like, you know, that's gonna vary per person. Some people always do the same block strings, and that works in your favor. Maybe that guy literally most of the time does this. And so you're just like, well, I might as well focus on like pushback into IB and then go for this. And now they have to guess if I'm going to do something versus them, right? You can also press like 4P. Or sorry, you can press 5P here. It's a 4-frame normal for Soul, right? And now it's like they have to deal with that situation. They have to DP, they have to do whatever, right? Or you can DP, etc. But you're basically, because of how your defense works, it feels like you're just kind of randomly pushing out and randomly pressing buttons, and DP is your solution to frame advantage a lot of the times, and that's not a good solution. Or maybe that's not the right way to say it. It's too volatile. You can't act on an action like this to protect you in the face of frame advantage, because you're always going to be playing on the back foot. You're always leveraging way more risk than the other guy is on average. Because Soul's DP, while amazing and does lead to knockdowns, none of his Oki is guaranteed. So like, as soon as you do your Oki, you're going to have to gamble too, right? So it doesn't make sense to keep introducing like more and more gambles in my sense, in like that sense. I was going to talk about like FD breaking too. You kind of do this thing, I feel like, where you're just like here, and I'm not really sure what you're looking for. I feel like you tend to just stand here if people let you do that. And that works if you're understanding and like how to punish people always approaching you, but for the most part, characters like Kai Kisuke have no interest in approaching you, or they approach you in favored situations like this. It's hard to interact with this button, it just kind of wins. Unless you 6P, but there's no guarantee he presses this button. Why would you make your game plan formulated around something they control, right? That's kind of like the problem with stuff like that. They're controlling that, right? They're the guy that decides if they 6P or if they do that or not. And this button isn't going to find enough consistent value if they only press this button maybe like 20% of the time now, instead of just doing this. This is nearly as good and never loses to that option, and will actually punish 6P, right? Really, the takeaway is, like, it's important to just start to focus on approaching with Soul and, like, breaking and introducing options like this to help control spaces. Kai's a rough example. I was talking about it yesterday, too, with Fiery, where Kai just controls a bunch of space, and that's difficult, right? That's difficult because you have to stop outside of his effective range much sooner than other people, right? But it's like, it's understanding how he's protecting himself. Is he just always sticking this button out? You don't need to always do this. This is kind of like tricky to set up consistently. It's high payout, but look at how hard this is to actually get the hurt box on. Like, look at it. I'm still trying to hit this, right? And like, you could try to like do stuff like this if you want, but it's like, look at it. Look how hard this is to interact with consistently. I have to hit that timing, right? It's sometimes easier to just break and get more meaningful offense out of it and use screen positioning to punish people, right? Like, if I think somebody's pressing something, I'll just try to navigate around the timing of it. And I can do it if I really pay attention to how things are coming out, right? In other words, if I'm over here and he always presses, he's gonna have to respect that. And if he's really not, then the run-up afterwards is also RPS, right? Like, let's say he doesn't want to respect the fact that he just whiffed. One, Soul's fast as fuck, and you kind of have to do that. If he mashes after, I can play that. I can play into that. That's a strength for my character, right? I can play for this hit now, right? That's a big deal, right? That alone, that's how Soul plays. It's he wins once, right? He guesses once, and then he sets up for the next situation, right? But that's not one size fits all. What if this guy just blocks after, like a normal human being would? Like a sane, sound in life human being would decide to do. What if they block? Then that 2D isn't that good, right? You don't want to do this because it's the end of your offense, right? You need to maximize value. So what if I break and I tell myself he's probably not going to mash? Now I can run up. Now I'm in a great space to do RPS. I have 5k for my hit confirm on the situation. I have 2S as my pressure RPS, right? The hard part is understanding each part of it, but you have to start breaking and setting up approaches more and paying attention to like what is stopping the approaches, because they're usually really concrete. Did it miss because they moved back? Okay, then you kind of have to like learn to recognize that, you know? I was essentially having this conversation like a little bit with Fiery, and the idea, like the short of it is, when you're doing this, it's great. Stopping here is great for people that just actually stick around and wait and react. People that like tend to just be like active all the time, you just have to position defensively well versus, right? Like this guy tends to run up like in this range and jump and stuff, then I can just press, like I can just crouch and then preemptive 5k and then RPS here. If he techs forward, I get paid. And if he techs back, it's whatever. It's like, we're just back in neutral. This is how Soul plays the game. Like, he does things like this, and then he RPSs again. But he RPSs, and if you overextend into him, you die. And if you give up space, then Soul takes the space really fast. And that's true in a lot of matchups, right? But yeah, I mean, those are different skills. Like, learning to be able to do this and learning how to break and then set up approaches is like a big deal. Go watch any Soul player, basically. Like, you even probably watch Ob, and like you can see the intent. And the thing about Soul is he can jump whenever he's not certain of a situation and use the downtime to decide if he's well spaced for something like this, right? Like if he gets to this distance, this option's great. It demands a lot of attention from people, right? Like this kind of forces Kai to stick out 2H instead of 6P. 2Hing there means that you can like land and then get far slash and then this instead. But there has to be like more intent in your neutral. There's just like no intent from the looks of it a lot of the times. learning to set up a spacing on purpose is a good way to do it. You don't have to wait here. You can if you want, is what I've been telling Fiery. Like, if they're kind of overextending into you for whatever reason, then yeah, you can wait, and you have a lot to gain there, right? But if you have nothing to gain by waiting, then don't wait. There's nothing to gain by waiting. And the answer, how do I know when I have something to gain? It's based on your opponent. Is your opponent overextending into you, or are they not? If I break here, do they always microdash far slash as RPS? Now that's actually pretty good to do the 6P, because I am dictating the timing on this interaction now. It's different from when I'm just hanging out in a stationary range all the time, right? Now if I do this, sometimes I jump, sometimes I break, sometimes I air dash back, sometimes I faultless defense early like this, and then run install Fafnir. It goes way farther, right? There are, like, if I was to show this with like the little thingy, it's like as I am farther away. Oh, I don't have it on the screen. Hold on. How do I gotta add the new tech. Whoa, it opens like a separate window. So like, it's gonna work. Oh, it's gotta like, hold on. Hold on really quick. I gotta like move it up, I think. I gotta resize it really quick and then like move it up. Holy shit, this thing is big. Okay, I think this is right now. Alright. Okay, cool. So, all you have to understand is if you do it correctly from around here, you can move forward into here. You can move upwards like here. You can move like this and then jump and then drift slightly. You can break right here and run install Fafnir. Will go roughly this far. You can run up to here and stop, and regular Fafnir will like threaten this range because you move forward into its range now, right? You can run, stop, run again. You can, like, does this make sense? You can run, get kind of close, stop, Gunflame YRC to cover a ton of space when you're close, and the slowdown guarantees a reaction. Like, there are so many unique tools to neutral, and like Soul has to kind of start to use all of them because he plays a lot of neutral. But he's not an uninteractive character, right? I don't have that much time for it, but I do want to talk about a little bit of Kai defense. And what I mean by that is it's usually pretty straightforward. It's like he does a lot of staggering like this, and the faultless defense is good for it. And then you just have to tell yourself, how am I interacting with this? This normal specifically. Like I said, I believe this is +3 normally. Let me double check while I talk about that. But that normal is usually plus. It's great at stopping the faultless defense, so you kind of want to like aim to IB it. You always want to be ready to interact with that potentially, right? Like, are you okay with letting him get more offense? Do you want to take a risk right now? Does it seem necessary? He's not in a great situation. It's +4. Yeah. So he's even. He's even on regular block for sure. Then he's definitely even on regular block, because on IB it's probably going to take away 4 frames of advantage. Maybe 3. Maybe he's still +1, but I'm pretty sure he's even if you IB it. Right. And so it's usually like 2 buttons like this, and then he goes into this move. This is a move that you want to identify in his pressure. Like, you want to know when it's seemingly happening. Like, when does this tend to happen? Because if you block this, especially if it's not like point blank, where like getting thrown out of his pressure is something he would have to worry about. Like, even here, actually, he's not in throw range now that I think about it. This move is just good for Kai. If you can't ever like faultless defense, or sorry, IB it ever, then he essentially just gets free pressure rebuys all the time, because he's so plus only DPs threaten him, right? The reason this move is hard to read is because he can 2k it, he can close slash into it. Like, this move is a Gatling out of virtually every button for a reason. It's how Kai like continues to apply offense, and it needs to be a flexible button for him, right? If it was always he had to do it off like close slash, then it wouldn't be that great, because you would just plan for this every time and it would lose all its value, right? This button is great because it's hard to read, but Kai players tend to do it in the same spots because they learn where they like to do it, right? So like, you learn to read Kai's defense in that sense. One of the things I was talking about is once Kai is like this far, pushing him out isn't really that helpful anymore. Once you block this normal, you kind of want to be proactive. Or like lean towards being proactive if you're gonna pick something. In other words, if he does this, he's not close enough for the frame trap. He's just not, right? So if you do this and you think he's gonna CL, you can mash preemptively if you so choose. You can even see the whiff. And then before Kai can usually do anything else, you should be able to probably press 2D if I had to guess. He's pretty minus on this whiff. See? Because that's the only thing that can really happen there, unless he starts spending bar, right? That's why I said, like, Kai's pressure here isn't that good. Because once you block far slash in that mid-range, it's like, he kind of has to do, like, other stuff to get more respect. He's got to do, like, 2S reverse Gatling, so that he's not as minus in your face, right, as he would be on this button. This button is pretty minus, so he has to cancel it. His cancel options don't reach you, right? CL has to be... That's a better situation if he's like... I don't even know how he gets it, honestly. He has to, like, run into this. Or people have to, like, IB him a bunch for him to get this. But a lot of the times, that shit isn't, like, that close. He has to be, like, here. Damn, even that doesn't hit? Yeah, this is a weird button. You have to be, like, here to get it. Right? So you wait. If he does something like this, then he got you, bro. Like, that is either a punish with no bar, like, if you waited... Or he has to spend 50 bar for a frame trap here. Like, that's not... By Kai Kisuke standards, that's not good. That's not, like, that great of a situation to be in. So, like, pay attention to that, right? Like, yeah, you do want to kind of push him out. Especially, like I said, it's good general defense to notice that pattern of when people have to run up and do their offense and apply a little bit of FD. It's going to make the tick throw a little harder for them, potentially. But it's also going to push them back in a way that they should respond to. If they don't, then that makes your life even easier, technically. Pay attention to 6K. It's an important normal. Like, pay attention to the rhythm when they press it, and that way you can get more mileage out of it. Similarly, 6H is like a similar normal where it's like, he can do it in different spots, right? Like, he can do 2S 6H, he can do 5K 6H, you can do close slash 6H, you can even do 2P 6H. Like, this button is a similar button, right? It's like, it's good because it's versatile. Like, he can press it in different spots. And you want to learn how to recognize it so that you can get that IB on the second hit and then leverage gambling depending on the distance. Maybe you can DP, maybe you're far enough that you think the jump is safer since you IB'd it. Like, there's different ways to go about it. But I would recommend paying attention to that. And if he gets to far slash distance, pay attention to, like, being ready to interact potentially. He has to start doing stuff like stun edge YRC or stun dipper RC or something, like, to start getting value out of that. Otherwise, he's just gonna whiff CL in your face, and that's bad. If CL whiffs in your face, that's like a free far slash every day of the week as Soul. If it's blocked, that's different. That's pretty okay for Kai, because he's only -1 and he can play the -1 pretty well, actually. But outside of that, it's like it's not that great. Does that all, like, register at least, like, a little bit, you know? Like, does that kind of make sense what you should look for? There is no one answer, but it is about applying a little bit of something in specific spots, and that way you can get a feel for it. But like I said, it's really easy for people to just, like, randomly, like, oh, maybe I should FD, and it's like, well, now you didn't get a punish, right? Like, now, look at that, right? Like, a random FD here is, like, what costs me my punish. Where, like, if I just waited, I get a punish. Well, maybe I have to micro dash into it, right? Oh my god, I actually have to IB it. You got me. But that's easy, because Stun Dipper is 2 hits, so you always get the IB, right? It's like, boom. I can't really, like, get that as easily, see, if I randomly, accidentally, faultless in a meaningless spot, see? Like, I don't get a punish now. They'll DM me later. I mean, you should probably just talk to, like, Ob or, like, another Soul player a little bit about, like, how to think of the neutral, because the neutral is a big part of what you're lacking. You kind of don't understand, like, spacings to hold and, like, things to look for, if that makes sense. Right, like, that is definitely a big part of, like, what is killing you. On top of, like, your defense being too random. Like, it's just too random. It doesn't feel like you know what any character does, right? And the way I would put it is, like, you kind of have to know, right? Like, again, there's a lot of potential here. If you IB'd, like, a whole string here, You can get like a crazy, you can get a crazy punish there in theory as Soul. Shit, you can even just do lurch, right? But you only get that off structuring your defense that way. You are starting, the way I would put it is like you're bottlenecking on the fact that your defense is random. Your defense is random outside of really static situations like this. And you have to structure your blocks to force people to do things. Or to put yourself in a situation where your gambles are a little bit safer or a little bit better or etc. That and the neutral, they're bottlenecking a lot. Because like I said, a lot of your defense is very like, it feels random until this happens, right? Like it doesn't feel like I see you with enough intent and then you see a big plus on block type of move like this that ideally shouldn't be plus on block if you can help it. Like if you can execute. And then you're like, okay, he's plus, time to gamble as my RPS. And it's like, that's not that great, right? One of the other things I didn't mention it too is obviously you did it like once where like, pushing out like right here is pretty good, but you have to be ready to like enter the next level of RPS. There's a risk to pressing a button here, but if he dashes up, that's the best way to stop it, right? And if he opts to do his pressure differently, it'll look kind of like this. Wait. Right? Right, oh my god, let me do it with like 2 buttons. Right, so I'm gonna show you that none of this isn't like random uju juju. It's like it is like concrete shit, right? I blocked 2 hits. I want a faultless twice, right? Oh my god, I don't even have to do it. Let me stand closer to him and maybe it'll help. Right, like he punishes me here for thinking that like he is gonna dash on me spamming FD. What if I just waited? What if I did my FD and I wait? This situation is the one we just talked about. I, via my blocking and understanding his options, now he's in that 3H on block situation, right? That's not like I made this happen by just waiting. By pushing him out a little bit, making him react, pushing him out again, like thinking, okay, he's still not going to commit. Now he's committing, now CL misses, now he has to frame trap, right? This is like the fucking hidden levers that are like Xerker defense. This is what it means to me to tell people like, yeah, this is like more active defense. It's picking your options with a lot of things in mind. And the more you're like picking the right thing while not overextending too much, you can kind of force situations like this, right? If I was to break down every part of this, it is, I recognize that he's in a situation he gets to run up and apply offense. I don't want to gamble. I know that I can gamble in a lot of these situations. That's just how the game usually works when you have a DP, right? I can also backdash, but backdash is like gambling, kind of. It's like you can often get clipped out of it. It's not that great, right? Right, so I block. I want this initial faultless defense. I want to force Kai to react so that I can hopefully get this. What if I miss it, right? What if I miss it? What if I miss my IB? Okay, I'm in a similar spot. Kai has a reason to press 2 buttons and try to frame trap me now. Let me try the faultless defense again. Okay, we're kind of farther now, right? If he runs up to extend his offense off of that, like manually, any button I press will interrupt him. If he presses a button right now, he frame traps that. But his frame trap is the end of his pressure a lot of the times, and I can play for that, right? So you kind of like tell yourself that's the idea. Like this is what you want to happen, and you have to be willing to like play around that, right? Because what if I actually hit this, right? Then I can press on my frame 4 normal. We're even now. He can't press a button there. I have a faster button than him now, right? And this is kind of what I mean by like the defense is a lot of like intention and whether or not you got it, right? If I get the IB, sweet. I don't have to get frame trap anymore, right? Before I did. Now I don't, right? Get the IB? Okay, what if I don't get the IB? Oh my god, now I'm actually like hitting it every time, right? Okay, then we try again. Okay, what if I press my button, right? Let's pretend that I timed the recording better and I got frame trapped. Okay, then that's like not worth doing, right? But there is a pattern to offense in this game, right? And you have to like understand, if I don't want to press a button here because I think he's going to frame trap, it's in my best interest to start instant blocking to keep him in an awkward range because he doesn't have good pressure off his far slash. So like it's IB, now CL follow-up doesn't work. CL will whiff. He has to stun edge YRC, which costs bar, and won't get a ton of reward if I block it, because I'm gonna represent faultless defense again, right? It's the same pattern. It's the same pattern over and over and over again. More than you might think, right? That kind of thing comes up a lot, man. You just gotta pay attention to it. Right? The way I would put it is like if he stun edged YRCs off of the 3H and I didn't mash immediately, because I don't have to. I can wait for CL to whiff. I don't have to mash preemptively. So if he spends the bar to continue his offense, guess what I'm going to do when he runs up? I'm going to faultless again until he's good at dealing with it. Right? I'm going to faultless again, and I'm going to force the same initial pushback, and then he's going to have to start figuring out how he keeps his pressure. Right? You can't get away with that forever. It costs 25 bar to do that there. Or he has to spend 50 bar on stun edge or stun dipper, and stun dipper is like better pressure. Even though it might not seem like it, their RRC is a little bit more daunting to deal with because you don't have like as much time to prep for it. But they're roughly the same, right? They're like about the same. It's just stun dipper is like guaranteed as fuck. Or he starts giving up his turn, right? He just gives up his turn, and that's fine. Like Kai can give up his turn. He can just do 3H regular stun edge, and he's not punishable. He's a little closer than he'd like to be, but his backdash is essentially guaranteed. And then, boom! Like, just like that, magically, like, it's no longer Kai's oppressive for everlasting offense the way that you normally think of it as, right? Like, off of that situation alone, I basically, like, demystified a lot of what is, like, I don't get it. Like, how do I block? How do I turn into stuff, right? Like, learning the next part of the game is that, bro. Like, you just have to do that on your defense, and you have to do a little bit more workshopping in the neutral, for sure. And Kai is a character that puts it in the spotlight because you can't RPS consistently versus a character like Kai. All the Oki characters just, like, run over people that can't, like, control situations on average. Alright. Alright. Next up. Oh, wait. Last one. You understand? Here's not that hard. Play neutral, save your life. Effort to not get hit. You're here? Yeah, I kind of figured you were from earlier. Yeah. But focus on that and get back to me, learn. Because the way I would put it is, if you don't know how people's offense works, even generally, then you have to start paying more attention. You have to start breaking it apart per character. Don't just kind of passively do random shit. Look at what seems like it's good versus some stuff and what isn't. And defense is the hardest part for what it's worth. You're going to get more mileage out of just focusing on the neutral stuff more. You'll definitely get more mileage out of it. In an effort to not get hit by a pair of dice. For what it's worth, I think Soul is actually one of the harder characters in the game. Because you have to know how situations work, and flailing doesn't work after a certain point. Like, the hardest part about fighting Soul is that he's like, he doesn't care about his combo drops, really. A lot of the times you just tech into his buttons, like mid-dust loop. He's hard to punish on a lot of his, like, air options. And Volcanic Viper's pretty good in a lot of matchups, right? Like, there are parts that are annoying to deal with, but Soul is pretty fucking vanilla. He's pretty easy to fight. He's pretty straightforward to interact with. And so people learn how to fight Soul pretty fast because he's not that complicated. Soul, on the other hand, when he fights other characters, has, like, no guaranteed option off of his Oki. Everything he does will always leave clear points of interaction. And the only thing he can do to work around that is just stagger even harder. It's to just change the timing of what he's doing even more, right? Soul is all about understanding the opponent's, like, options they lean to, the active risk reward of situations in terms of Soul's options into them, and playing around that all the time, because you have Soul never gets, like, a dizzy factor, right? He never gets a situation where he's like just like get owned, hold fish, whatever. He never gets Secret Garden. He never gets, like, everyone has pretty good stuff. And the thing about Jam is, like, while Jam also, like, there are other characters like Leo and Jam and stuff that don't have, that are offensive archetypes that don't have guaranteed Oki situations, but like Leo's got a built-in high and back turn. Jam has like Kara Geki. She has better Gatling strings than Soul. Like, Soul is really honest outside of his damage for the most part. Like, damage is a big savior for him, but for what it's worth, Soul is way harder than people think to win with. Soul is easy to pilot outside of his hard combo that like is essential to learn. Soul is actually really just easy to pilot is what people mean. He's not easy to play, he's just easy to do quarter circles on, right? So take solace in that. I think he's like the hardest character in the game, basically. I'm gonna skip. We're not gonna watch 15 minutes worth, so hopefully you don't mind. But I like to skip to around like here. Looks like is gonna be. We can watch from like here. Usually watch like roughly 10-ish minutes. That's a good DP. That's a good DP on 6H. That's scary. I don't think that. You just tune in to hear Soul's the hardest champ in the game. Yosagi, do you not agree? Low key. He's easy to pilot. You know as well as I do, it's fucking hard winning with honest options in this game. It's so hard. Get the Oki. That's a good trade. Also, this matchup has awkward neutral. A lot of your buttons you want to use are not that great. Bar slash into guessing. I like that you block here. Learning to... when you accept that you're minus in a situation like this, people are going to mash fast normals if they're going to do something. So you want to immediately faultless defense here, I think, if you're blocking. If you've already accepted your fate, then you just accept it. But the extra pushback will help mitigate some of that immediate risk. This is awkward. Yeah, she tends to go low there. This is a scary DP. I like not taking it. Honestly, most of this looks pretty solid. I would say maybe don't camp your Gunflame this much in this matchup. It's a little spooky because of how good her IAD can be. But, you're, like, pretty patient. You've been playing Soul with intent. It was hard. Intent is hard. Something a mutual told you, grinding plus R, so you appreciate that. Look, there's a reason all the Soul players besides Ob are crashing out. Like, small tangent. I'm not going to waste your time on this, but I figure the last time slot, and you probably don't mind that much. But, like, small tangent. The reason that Ob, in my opinion, is, like, so good. There's, like, two big reasons that Obden is really good at, like, learning Soul. And it's that, one, Ob played Strive, so he's used to, like, just considering RPS. Yeah, that is a lot of plus R Souls. Learn Sidewinder or just die. But so, like, he played like a game that's like heavy on RPS, so he's not scared of it. Like, that's not a concept that scares Ob. Two, Ob was a melee player, and he's like an old school melee player. And I bring up this tangent because old school melee is a game founded on just like winning interaction after interaction. And if you play a space animal, you're like insanely privileged back in the day. You're still insanely privileged. But back in the day when plumbers used to play and nobody had punish game, you just constantly played neutral, like all the time. So playing a ton of interactions and learning the situations and keeping that in mind and also being okay with that is like supernatural as a melee player from like, let's say 2008 onwards up until like 2018, if we're being generous. Like that entire decade plus is like, that's why that's not a weird thing. But fighting game players, especially anime fighting game players, playing games like this shit, you know, like playing games like Rev 2, the concept of a character like Soul will break you. It will break you. You will literally just realize that it's just a ton of patience over and over again. Alright, back to the regular scheduled program. So yeah, Soul is hard. He's easy sometimes. He's easy in some sense, but he's hard to win with, man. Spooky burst, but it works out. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie, a lot of this looks pretty good, man. I guess the only minor thing is In the face of this much bar, you should at least consider spending 25 so that you can get some offense, because blocking in this situation is pretty scary. Looks like Miss DP is my guess. A little far. So one of the things I want to highlight is understanding why setting up spacing is important. This is a great situation, like distinctly. Did I turn the timer back on? I did, right? Yeah. No, I didn't. Good catch. No, I did. Wait, it just wasn't updating in the browser. That's weird. This is a good situation to show it. So at this distance, this is too far. This big bubble of space is too far for either of us to get a good approach in. It's too far. It's not that you can't approach, it's that by my like standards, I think the approach that you would get here is subpar. It's not that great. In order for either people, assuming we both have running movement, that's like a big assumption, because like, you know, maybe like a handful of characters don't in this game, but assuming we want something to happen, either I have to get us, so if she's staying stationary, like right here, a good gauge of neutral is to move from this spot to like right here instead. And now the box of space is this, right? You kind of want to think of it as like, if this is the entirety, right? Like if this big space I talked about earlier is too far for a good approach, then you need to look for the how to set up the little space. You need to look to set up like this instead, right? That might be a little close. You could probably draw the line like a little further back, like right here. This spacing depends a little bit on matchup, but the general idea is you want to be like outside the range of all their normals and close enough that your run will act as a threat. Running forward will be a threat. That's a big thing for Soul in general. Even in a matchup like this where honestly running forward is kind of hard versus Jam because of her options defensively. But does that make sense? Like, you want to look for this. You want to find like this bubble of space before you interact, if you're going to interact. That's a big key, right? And that window of spacing doesn't last long. But the reason I mention it is, do you notice that Milk does it? Milk kind of moves forward and then naturally stops earlier. And that break gives a lot of control to the person moving, right? Because the person that didn't choose to move is the guy that's now in a position to react, right? So like, see, Milk runs forward, breaks, right? You want to mirror that concept, right? And funny enough, if somebody is breaking into you, you can run at them and take advantage of that better, right? Generally speaking. 1 sec. Alright, my bad. Luckily, there's nobody after you, so... My bad. I didn't mean to add a couple delays here and there. I think we're like gonna end up 10 minutes over roughly, but... Should be fine now. What's up, Kyrie? Here... I mean... So, like, the FD break, it's perfect. You're doing it too, right? The idea is, one, you also want to crouch here a lot. You want to be crouching so that options like this are less likely to hit you. This only hit you because you were standing, right? When you're breaking there, you want to kind of, like, crouch a lot more, and that way you can do a reactionary 6P or 5K, depending on the air normal you're expecting, right? That could help a lot, too. Don't just, like, break there and make yourself the biggest hurt box possible. You want to be really tiny so that instant air dashing loses a lot of the value it normally has. That's tough. That's just understanding tech scrambles, right? Gunflame would be good at covering like a neutral tech into nothing, but tech into air dash forward in scrambles like this is like the most aggressive option the defender can pick. You can plan for it. It's way higher reward to cover for the defender with way lower risk if you were to stand in place there and just 6p, like assuming he would do that. If he didn't do that, you wouldn't really lose anything. You would only stand to gain value. No, you could have gotten a good punish there. Close slash 6p launch there. Faultless defense. I'll get clipped by the last high. Yeah, this is scary to burst. I would also probably just accept my fate. Nice. Okay, I will say, so a big thing that sucks about this matchup is that you do have to sometimes like do this and sometimes wait. If you're gonna wait because of something like DP or the counter or whatever, you kind of have to do 2D. And 2D feels really bad for Soul specifically because all your special cancels are gonna RPS with her canceling, but you don't have a choice, I think. I think it's better than to just give up your offense, period. Right? 2D will beat the things that you're scared of, and while she gets good RPS out of you doing 2D and then she gambles after she blocks it, that's just the game that you're playing, right? You have to 2D to threaten the options that beat you pressing like 5k here, right? Because if you press 5k, then your offense is a lot better, and you don't have to worry about like, oh, now when I 2D, like, she's just gonna Hochifu, Revolver, Bringer, Gunflame, because like, that's all true. And if you do 2D into no cancel and she mashes 2D, it's a punish, right? But that's the life that Soul Bad Guy lives in this matchup if he's gonna do offense. The way I would put it is if you were going to do nothing, it would have literally been better to backdash at least so that you weren't point blank. But blocking this is like putting yourself actively in a bad spot. We've already talked about Soul being the hardest champ. You're late, bro. You're late to the party. Pretty good defense. 5H mash is a little weird versus Jam, I think. Just picking back off Yosagi. I can tell. I don't think you've had too much bar, but don't be... When you have 25 bar in these situations, don't be afraid to just tap blitz and... Or sorry, not tap blitz. Charge blitz and just hold it a little bit. Yosagi, you guys missed the window, man. I was playing League. I told Puddles to hit me up, and then I literally never got hit up for League. You were gonna get the Christmas, like, you were gonna get the Christmas Iron 1 in the league, man. I don't actually have a rank. I didn't play enough to get the rank. I just played a couple of norms with friends. Because they're higher ranked than me, so we have to play norms. Nice catch. That's good. I like that. Yeah, leverage a little bit of bar. But now I don't even care, man. Now I just play Slay the Spire. Nice XP. Yeah, see, like, that's good. That's good. Do like... I will say you don't really need to stagger too much, but yeah. You run your general offense. Be a little bit more willing to pick a better normal on the frame trap than Far Slash. Far Slash is kind of low reward. Relatively burst safe. Wow, I'm surprised that 6P still worked that late. But I guess it was far out. Boom. Boom. This is a pretty decent burst point, like when she hits you with the second hit, because she's generally holding forward after it. Oh no, you crossed up. That's unlucky. Here, you should look to run away a little bit more. You have the health lead. You have the health lead. Play the health lead. It's their job to get an opening on you. You can play like a pussy. That's what I do. Yeah, there you go. Slay's peak. Much better than League anyway. For sure. Oh no, just get out. Just get out. Just get out. .jpg. Alright, we'll watch like one more and probably talk about some stuff. Honestly, a lot of it looks pretty okay. I think maybe some of your selection on punishes and stuff is like actually hurting you more than you think, or your selection on like block strings. It's a lot of little things that are killing you, I would say. And maybe I'll give like a couple concrete examples of just general like strong soul things with the tools that you already use. So like this isn't good. Like kind of in a way that I mentioned earlier, where like when she lands, I said any approach, right? Like even when they're landing and it feels like you're plus, this box is bigger than the box I talked about. You don't want to shoot for that for the approach. Whenever you're running into approaches, you want it to be based on the character's effective range on defense, which would mean that you should probably break and go from here instead. You should stop and use that space as a threat, or try to set that space up more. Yeah, we're John Madden now. The thing Milk gave me is actually pretty sick. It's a lot easier to use than the other one. It's a little bit faster, and that goes a long way. But the idea is, by the time you run up, he's going to be actionable anyway. Any approach you threatened is going to have a hard time. Specifically versus things like what he picked, which is just like jumping. When he doesn't, like when he sees you approaching and he doesn't know what to do, he's just going to jump, right? And now, like, your approach found less value, where the way I would put it is if you ran up and you stopped here, which is gonna be the range that would have been the range I talked about, right? So, like, if you had stopped here and Milk was here, this is the box, right? This is the box. Milk is going to end up right here. You stopped right here. Your 5k covers that perfectly. If you need that to be a thing that you do, you can DP, you can do etc., right? That's the value in stopping there, is if you bait out responses from people like that. Otherwise, you only stop there briefly, and if they're gonna live on the floor, then you only stop there briefly in case they mash something, and you keep running. You want to reserve deep run-ups like that for people that are actually just like waiting, like from light years away, and like don't jump and don't do anything else, and like then you can actually run full screen on them. But that is pretty rare in this game, I would say. That's tough. I like the corner switch. You can do it off Bandit Bringer if you know that you're going to get the hit. Like right here, you can do Bandit Bringer to cross up faster. That's actually pretty helpful there, because it means that you can at least kind of try to apply some offense there instead of like giving it up entirely. That's a pretty bad trade for Soul, actually. Yeah, right. So the idea is that you break. I do think that in general, Soul's approaches are really like underwhelming into her, because she's got like such great options. But you kind of want to like structure your approaches a little differently. I'll just talk about them after this game. Like different types of approaches and things to consider, why they're generally strong for Soul, and like they're going to get mixed mileage depending on matchup, but there are still things that you want to know and consider. That was a really good FD. That's a really good FD. Understanding when she tends to use 5H and pushing her out kills a lot of her offense and kind of forces her into early cancels, which is, all things considered, worse for Jam. It might not feel like it, but the idea is like, he put himself here, you have a DP, like he has to consider that option, so he even spends like 50 bar to cover everything. Right. Air dash out, I love that. That's a really good defensive response, to just like escape the corner like that. Yeah, I do think that's a good point to bring up. You can, when somebody is already moving really fast, like Milk is kind of doing, you can kind of just slow down and let them set up that distance for you, where everything is like kind of reactable. Oh no, try to use jump P a little bit more, because Ochifu would have kind of destroyed that anyway. I think I got the gist of it. We can like go into the game and talk about it instead a little bit. So I want to talk about, we'll switch to Jam, but I want to talk about some of the approach options that I think are like pretty good for Soul, like to understand. You're already pretty good at stopping in that space. I think maybe you just don't look enough for things, right? These options all obviously cover different stuff and lose different stuff, but let's say you run up to right here, right? Right here is like not the worst range for Soul. He can move a little bit and stick this out and really fish for like a fat trade or something early on, like this is like, I only want you to get hit if you stick something out kind of thing. He can do that. He can do this into Fafnir connects at that distance. That's a threat, right? They have to consider, and they can't really like consistently press a button on that on reaction. They kind of have to jump in that space, which is like a thing that they would have to do before they see Fafnir. They would have to jump like right now, right? You can even apply the same threat from farther away with running Fafnir. You can run Fafnir from very far, right? You can do it from like this far and it hits, right? So, and this option is great for controlling the ground in a lot of matchups. Not jam as much, but it is good versus other people because people can't really interact with this unless they stick shit out kind of in advance. It's kind of hard to stuff this on reaction from far away. This move's only like 20 something frames. Like it's not that slow. It just gets stuffed a lot by jabs if you're close. Right? So you can do that. Jumping like this at this altitude, right? Same distance, right? If I had stopped here and done run Fafnir, it hits. So I do have an option that would have timed roughly similarly. This is gonna connect versus them kind of around the same time like this connects. They're actually pretty similar timings, right? This is obviously very good at punishing people that just want to press a jump punch on reaction. You can do this from even closer. You can do it from like here and generally go over a lot of the anti-airs the characters have, right? That you can land and throw this out in front of you. This is basically like Soul's best disjointed option, is to get into a range where you want to stick out something disjointed, and you do this, and then the Roman cancel is to assure that you never have any punishes happening against you on reaction. Because if you do empty land gunflame here, certain characters can see it, process the situation, and IAD over and actually punish you before that hits, right? So it's like you can do that, right? You can break into this, and then now you have like a shield to work with. You're basically gonna force them to jump or give up space or block your best thing to start offense with, right? You can land into low crush, right? Everything you pick is generally dictated by a range like this. And when people are moving really fast, you kind of just tell yourself, like if they tend to do stuff like this all the time, how do I make it so that when they jump, they are like, I need to walk like here. That way they're always jumping into here, right? Because they always jump from right around there, I want to set myself up to be here around when they jump, and then I can get anti-airs easier on reaction, right? If I'm doing stuff like this, it might not work, potentially, depending on the distance, right? Like, if she just does this all the time, and I run up and I do this, this is like a little closer than you'd like to be. You don't want people landing on you. You want them landing like kind of where 5K is in front of you, right? And that happens when people also move when you're trying to set this up, right? You only need to like stop when you do options here a lot if you're fighting people that look at the screen a bunch and actually react to everything. This is still good in general versus like a lot of things because you stop here. Like I said, make sure you crouch so that options like this don't find as much value. You can just crouch under them, get the punishes. Is that actually a counter hit? Wow. Right? Same with like stuff like this, right? If you notice, he kept FD breaking a lot versus you, right? When somebody does that, sometimes I'll just take a little bit of initiative, or sometimes I will do something like this with Soul. Like, you're gonna break, you've been breaking a lot. Let me stick out something that punishes you for that. This punishes that, right? Because it's like his best thing, right? You can do that. You can stick out. You can time around their approaches, right? If he's doing something like this, then you can just like time around that, right? You could see it and then go like, oh, they always approach like right now. Oh shit. Like that. And that's big reward potentially, right? You're terrified of getting hit by the jump in the first place, so you're having trouble crouching in spots like that, but you'll work on it. The jump in shouldn't really be too problematic unless you're starting to get too close or letting them get too close. No jump in should ever be able to like suffocate you unless you end up in spots like this. And honestly, Soul isn't too bad. Usually it's angles more like this that are awkward for Soul to deal with consistently, because like 6P isn't that great at it, right? Like higher altitude stuff like this, 6P tends to be kind of mediocre versus. And like 5K, you like sometimes this works, like they kind of have to run into it. But a lot of situations I find where like you would do stuff like this. You would run in and you would kind of like misgauge the neutral and then try to anti-air now. And it's like, you can't anti-air if you just lift the button. You would have to look for alternatives, right? You'd have to do something like this to have something frame one in like essentially invul, right? To like punish that type of thing, right? And that's something to consider there. But the idea is like if you moved forward and you did this, and you're in this situation, like, you kind of jump into her and see if you can get value out of it. But Jam is pretty uniquely good in that situation, right? So that's why I'm like, you don't want to get too close to them if they're already, like, moving at you, because then you do end up in spots like this, right? Maybe you just break from a little bit farther and it produces a similar result, right? Like, breaking is, the idea is that you kind of want to stop, in my opinion, in a way that's going to produce, like, this distance. Whether it's all through you or whether it's a combination of both of you, right? If I move like this and I stop, we're pretty far. But if this guy always moves, he's picking his action in this distance now, right? Like, if I factor in their movement in this situation, I don't have to break as early as I would normally. I'm farther out, but I'm pretty well spaced for their approach, right? I'm putting both of those trajectories in mind, right? I need to adjust my approach based on their movement. But the spacing I want is roughly the same, right? That isn't really changing. Run in 2D is more of a call out on something specific rather than a general approach. Yeah, that's a good thing to point out too. This is like something you're expecting to hit, not like a, well, this is, if you were to run forward because you're just doing it, you would have been better off on average pressing // over this. At least in my opinion, that is. Right? But a big thing to understand is like, I'm mostly trying to emphasize, like, if you want better, more consistent neutral, you want to look to force interactions as the defender from here. And if you need to do that via this, like via, like, adjusting based on their movement, because like I said, if they don't move, I don't know why I recorded them not moving. If they don't move and you break over here, this is like still too far for an approach. I said if you want good approaches, you have to be like right here. Because right here, when you stop, the stop is what means that you could have kept running forward, right? You start from over here, but stopping here is what makes it a good approach potentially, right? This small pause adds stress to the defender because it doesn't change the timing when you arrive too much, but the small break versus just committing is unreactable. Those two things are not going to be reactable, right? If he plans for you to stop, you running and not stopping will be unreactable. It just will be, right? You can't plan for both. You have to start getting preemptive once he moves from this far away, right? And so what it sounds like, if you want better neutral, you kind of want this spacing a lot, at least until the other dude actively picks up on what you're doing or actively starts to try to do the same thing to you. Right? Now you're the guy that has to, like, be a little bit more proactive and interact with them in those spots. That's like how I said, like, if a lot of the times with Soul, it's just people holding him at a distance. It's rarely stuff like with Milk when he's running at you. When he's running at you, it's the same idea, but you don't want them to be able to dash at you with anything less than, like, this distance on average. Right? You want to be like this far and look to set this up a lot, because anything he does, he has to, like, set it up to bait defensive responses out of you, right? If your thing is like, I want to stop insert whatever from her, you need distance to do it. The way the game is built, in my opinion, is that if you look to put yourself in this spot and you tell yourself you're gonna do this and then, like, react to everything, that's not really gonna work, right? The reaction distance is like over here. And even this is kind of, like, iffy. The true, like, nothing is happening, I'm reacting to everything distance is, like, over here. But nothing is happening at this distance, right? This is purely, like, how far you want to get. If you're like, all I want is to not die. All I want is to not die, then this distance is awesome, right? And then it's like, maybe I want to be a little closer. Maybe I die a little bit more, but things like this are still kind of bad on reaction, right? And then once you get to, like, here is, like, it's party time. You're never gonna get to punish options like this consistently anymore, right? I'm a little bit closer. Neither of our normals reach here. But also, if we end up anyway, like, if either of us ends up here, however it is, we're basically gonna interact. We're gonna interact, or somebody's gonna look to get back to react to literally everything range. Right? That's usually how it plays out in this game. Because again, like, we're close enough that I can't just react to things like this easily anymore. Air dashes are pretty on the table for, like, both people, potentially. And more importantly, like, we're just a step away from our normals. Like, things are gonna happen here. Right? And like I said, it's a little hard to give full, like, explanation of everything because your options vary, but hopefully explaining these general ranges can give you an idea on what to use for what. If you're panicking and you think you don't want to interact with them, then ideally you want to set up a distance like this far and see if you can get them to overextend into you poorly, right? If you feel like you need to be the guy moving into them, being kind of passive, kind of stationary, whether it's with jump buttons, by the way, it doesn't really matter if it's jump buttons or whether it's like grounded stuff. You always kind of want to get to, like, you want to approach them, and if they're looking for it, then you need to stop at their outside of, like, their effective range. With jam, it's something like this, but you always still kind of want to be ready for this randomly. So sometimes I like breaking a little bit far. Soul is so fast that he can stop about this far and still reasonably cover space with far slash a lot of the times. Obviously, that has less mileage in this matchup because of Hochifu, and because your pressure cancels are just worse here versus jam. But that is just an aspect of the bad matchup, honestly. All it would really mean is if you're that scared, then you just don't really play grounded footsies much with jam. But the ranges are still pretty similar. Like, if you want to set up an approach, then you tend to do it from, like, here. Right? You move out of this full safety, nothing really that dangerous except, like, carded Ryujin, I guess, spacing, into let's make shit happen spacing, into committing. Right? Or if you're already past staggering your approach timing, then you can just send it and there's more reason to believe that it will work now, basically. That is, like, the general idea, right? And then if you want to get really aggressive, then you stop. You kind of, like, take space and stop in the, like, we're really close. Shit isn't like reactable range anymore. Like, I can't space outside your burst movement option anymore, right? That's the, like, I really want shit to happen in the next 2 seconds option. That's kind of the gist of it. One of the things I was gonna say too is I think some of your, like, decision making is a little questionable. You should always, if you're gonna press 2P, if you're gonna stagger off of it, stagger with something that's high value, right? If you think they're gonna 2D, then you kind of have to 2D on your side, right? You can also 2K if you want to be a little safer and have more Gatling options after, but obviously that's low reward. But to do something like this doesn't really help Soul, because if you hit a frame trap on S, it doesn't do anything. A lot of your frame trapping was a little bit, like, timid in a way, and, like, timid and, like, maybe not oriented enough around, like, high reward. 2P, 6P isn't really that viable in this matchup, but, like, 2P, 2D is alright. 2P into Gunflame is, like, okay, I think, in this matchup. This is, you'd have to, like, really workshop that one, because she's got some pretty fast options, but normally, like, 2D immediate Gunflame RC is, like, pretty alright, actually. It's, like, pretty good at, like, also frame trapping a lot of the times. And, like, protecting you versus most things in the trade tends to be good. But 2D is a hell of a button for her. So it's pretty dicey. But that was, like, the other thing I noticed is that you should pay a little bit more attention to, like, if you're staggering, if you're doing stuff like this, you really want to, like, set up a button that's high reward on frame trap if you're willing to commit to it. Or set up something that's lower reward like this, but will end on a normal that is interactive in a way that favors you, like 2S's plus on block and has like a delayed, like, 6H cancel, or can Gunflame immediately, or you can stagger 5H and try to frame trap, right, etc. Right? But that all stems from, like, whatever you next picked should be like weighted in gauging, okay, is it better if I hard commit? Do I have reason to believe I'm going to get paid? Or should I kind of be, like, half-assed about it and pick something that's not as rewarding if they get counter hit, but will still be safer in the case where they don't, right? I thought that was, like, a thing I noticed for sure, too. And then there was one more thing I was gonna mention. I'm, like, spacing out. Oh, your Oki. Your Oki. If you knock Jam down, right, so if you knock her down, I think the idea is if you jump forward, then you just take the jump punch, you safe jump most of her options. DP is still pretty annoying, but at least you're safe jumping it, right? You're gonna force her to like backdash and pick other stuff, and maybe you can RPS with that instead. This is generally safe to like start off with. It's just like it tends to play around the option that they're probably realistically used to like bailing them out, which is Hochifu, right? So you can start on JP. It's a pretty safe Oki to go for. And then if you feel like you want to do something a little bit like more proactive, then you can walk back, and like 2D just is the button to press if you think they're gonna DP or Hochifu. That's just the life that you live as Soul. But I would never tell myself to just like block here. Just blocking here is bad. Unless they have like 100 bar and they're gonna do like super get cancel into like RC or whatever, right? Then you have reason not to do that. But you would be better off just embracing the what is playing Soul bad guy in a matchup that feels kind of bad to do Oki in, which is like you have to play risk reward. If you bait Hochifu and get the counter hit or the whiff, it's like half her health in the corner. That's a big deal, right? First Soul bad guy. And the idea is if they stop doing it, that's kind of like what you want, so that you can actually do regular like parry, you know, like regular pressure again, right? You can do this, and now this is something that would obviously get DP'd or Hochifu'd, but like if you can scare them out of always wanting to pick that option or backdashing into this or something, then it's like cool. Now you can set up more stable offense that you're used to. Right? But I saw you do it like a handful of times, that you would get a knockdown and then just wait like this, and it's like that's not good. Not letting in a game like this, blocking is really bad. Like in that context. Right, you don't get enough value out of defense there to rationalize blocking. Like I said, if that was the case, you would be better off literally doing this. And at least, like, walking out of the range of her buttons than to just, like, wait and block. But I did notice that. Don't be scared of, like, the 2D RPS. It sucks. It does. But Soul has no other way to play around DP and Hochifu for value, so you kind of just have to, like, embrace that, honestly. Those are, like, the biggest things I would say I noticed. Very late JS or pretty late JP into 2K will beat Hochifu. Yeah, I like JP more. I think the JS is pretty hard to set up, man. Like, consistently. Or, like, you have to be more practiced, you know? I don't think it's worth it unless you're actually actively, like, practicing that timing. You might as well just JP. I think it's easier. Yeah, the JS is annoying. And that's kind of why I wouldn't mention it. Because you can do the same with Azami. You can JH, you can, like, safe jump Azami more than a couple of ways, but you have to, like... You have to factor in the fact that it's hard to do. But yeah, hopefully that kind of helps a little bit. Like I said, neutral is tough because it's understanding the usefulness of each of those ranges and like what they're good at, right? Super far out, you can essentially react to like every approach option, and how you're reacting is based on how scared you are. Do you think you should press a button? Do you think you're just gonna up back because that's the safest thing ever? Are you gonna spend a little bit of bar on gunflame YRC, right? Or moving forward and setting stuff up? But if you think your neutral sucks, then that's probably what I would say to start with. And then that's kind of it, actually. By that's it, I mean as in like that's our last VOD review. Pretty short VOD review. I'm always a fan of short VOD review. It's pretty chill. Do I have a suggestion to deal with backdash on their wake up as well? Try to do 2P to hedge against that. Just press 5K. Do meaty 5K. Meaty 5K will hit with the second hit, and then you can react to the second hit in 2H. So if she does this as a reversal, you get the second hit. See? And if she didn't, you would get this hit. You would get 2 hits. So usually what you're reacting to is if you only got 1 hit of 5K, it's because of that. And this covers both. Right? And you just have to like practice your combo after. But you can do that. That's usually what Soul's 5K is great at anyway, is you use it in roughly this distance and you'll get both hits and also automatically catch backdash. You know you're doing it right if only the second hit is hitting on the Oki. You'll see it. If you set the reversal tool to reversal, you'll see it. And remember, the idea is that 2D will be enough incentive, hopefully, to get Jam to stop always RPSing on the stuff that would beat meaty 5K. right? Or meaty 2P or whatever. Yeah, Gunflame YRC is a good media option. It beats everything. That's the idea, right? Like, it's just... If you want to spend, Gunflame YRC does it all. It's safe. It covers backdash. Spaced out, it covers blitz, potentially. But, that's kind of it. Anybody that came through for VOD reviews, if you didn't write it down, if you think you'll forget, I put them on the YouTube now. I usually do it decently fast, so it'll go up on there like pretty soon. I'll cut the VOD here since we're out of VOD reviews to go through, but they happen bi-weekly if anybody is randomly lurking and is curious. I basically just post them on my bluesky account at Baiken Player. I should make probably a link to that too, actually, for future ones. But it's at Baiken Player. I'll make a link for it for next time. They happen roughly bi-weekly. I post on Monday. So just like if you're interested, you keep an eye out, and that's pretty much it. They go on to YouTube. These are purely like for people that are interested. Don't feel pressured to submit VOD review if you don't actually want VOD review. I don't do this as a thing where, man, I hope people come out and like, it's only if you want it. If nobody submits for VOD review, that's fine. It's not a big deal. I'll just do it next week, or I'll do it at like the next VOD review, and then we'll see if people want to. It just is there for people that want to use it. I don't feel pressured to actually submit anything if you don't care. If you're just doing it to like be a homie because you want to support the VOD review, don't. That's just like, save me 35 minutes of time, please. But anyway, I hope everybody enjoyed their time here. I'm gonna call it here. I'll probably stream maybe like some Slay the Spire right now because fuck it, but